It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the season premiere of And I Quote. This is the weekly show where we introduce you to a special guest. We have a friendly conversation, find out more about them, and find out what plans they have for the future. I am your host, Ryan of Culture, and what better way to kick off this brand new season of And I Quote with someone who is a triple threat, maybe a jack of all trades. We'll find out more as we go along. Please welcome a writer, a cosplayer, and co-host of the hit weekly web series known as Comic Book Spectrum. Please welcome Clyde Hall. Clyde, welcome to the program. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being with us. We do appreciate it. So to start things off here, Clyde, what would you say were some of your favorite books or writers growing up?
Well, I really enjoyed what kind of got me looking into short story work. Edgar Allan Poe, classic. O. Henry. Guy de Maupassant. Those were some that really stuck out early on. And then when I started reading my own things, I read all of the James Blish adaptations of Star Trek before I ever saw any episodes. So that kind of gave me a science fiction footing. And but then I discovered the Lee Falk Phantom novelizations of his strips. And that kind of locked me into the whole pulp and, to some degree, comic book literary look. Those are the books besides comic books that caught my interest early on.
All right. Good stuff. So when did you decide to become a writer?
I have always written. I remember when I was about 4, I couldn't write, but I still wrote a story that I understood, and I took it to our neighbor lady, and she gave me a quarter for it, so I was like paid writer, 4 years old. So, and then in school, when we had extra credit reports, I always liked reading and all of the, I liked those things. I liked reading and writing spelling better than science. Science was okay, but I didn't really feel really connected to it. Did not care for math at all, but I got to where, for doing extra credit, if I could write some original stories, that was an easy way to get extra credit. So it started with that, and it just went from there to worse. So.
All right. Good stuff. What would you say are some of the biggest rewards of being a writer?
Biggest rewards, having somebody that you don't know come across some of your work and say, hey, I really enjoyed this story. It meant something to them, whether it was just entertainment or if it spoke a little deeper. I got to talk to a group of high school students this year and read them a little short fiction, semi-fiction, partly based in reality, about my childhood. And I didn't really think they would be interested. I'm 59, so I don't have a lot in common with high school students. But it was about this region and what things were like when I was young. And it got quite a response. I was impressed. It talked about some difficult things that they said they had not heard a person my age talk about before. So that was very rewarding. So those when you get the feedback, to me, is what it's all about. When you have made somebody's life better, or you give them a new idea to consider, or a different viewpoint about generational issues or history of an area, that's what I like.
Very good. And now on the other side of the fence, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges of being a writer?
Well, I think our mutual friend, Brian K. Morris, is going to be talking about imposter syndrome. As Carl Witzman, another friend of ours, mutual friend, says, you have to do something before you can have it, before you can have imposter syndrome. So it's a very positive way to look at it. So I've tried to subscribe to that, but there are times when I'm like, I think it was first published at 58 years old. So am I really a writer? I mean, it was really, really a writer. And then I'm like, well, I've been paid for my writing. I've been paid for doing comic book reviews. In every essence, and I have written for a living that wasn't what you would call fine arts writing, but I have done reports and technical report writing that, for a salary. So, and I've worked for the newspapers and radio media. So, everything from copywriting to doing hard news. So, yeah, I am. So, but that's one of those things that occasionally haunts you of, you're not Stephen King, so does that really count? Well, how many Stephen Kings are there out there? And now I've learned, and I know several people that are definitely writers, and that's how they make their living. And, it's not an easy trade. It is underestimated a lot. Its difficulty is underestimated by everybody that does it. I think at some point, like, I never realized how much work this was going to be. But overall, when people say, what do you do? Well, I'm a writer. Oh, no, I mean, what do you really do? What do you really do for a living? What do you do? So there's that kind of it's not a stigma, but there's a certain expectation from the public and from yourself that you kind of got to go through. I think that's one of the harder parts of being a writer.
Some good thoughts. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. How did you end up becoming a contributing writer for Stormgate Press? How did that start?
Okay, our mutual friend again, Brian K. Morris, he put out a call for anthologies of short stories, and I submitted one, and he approved it. And I said, do you know anybody else? Because I know he networks the Rising Tide Broadcast Network and Rising Tide Publications. Brian is the Dalai Lama of helping people get started on a track to becoming a published author. And so I asked him if he knew anybody, and he's like, you know what? Charles F. Milhouse. He's going to be putting together some stuff, and he gave me a heads up on some of the anthologies he'd already published. He goes, but he's going to be doing this Pulp thing. And so I checked with him. He took a chance, gave me a shot, and I created an original character called B-Man for the Pulp realities that have come out. We have 2 editions that are out, and the 3rd one is getting ready to go to press very shortly.
Ooh, excellent. Can't wait to read that. I will admit here on camera, I have read Pulp Reality 1 as well as just finished reading Pulp Reality 2 not too long ago. Congratulations to all the writers, artists, and contributors to both volumes. Look forward to part 3 because trilogies tend to come in 3s. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens in Pulp Reality number 3. So Stay tuned. Once more information is available, we will be sure to share that all across our forms of social media. Now, speaking of Stormgate Press, this kind of leads me into another question here. How did you become a part of the team known as Comic Book Spectrum? Tell us about it, and how did it all come together? I know we didn't plan this, just to sort of happen.
This just happened. Yeah, happy accidents, man. About 4 years ago, one of the things that drew me back into the writing, I retired. I had a 30-year career, and I retired. And a friend of mine that used to live here, we played Dungeons and Dragons together when he was a teenager and I was a young parent. And he now lives in Chicago. And he has networked with some comics pros there from the conventions that he went to. And he knew a couple editors who were trying to put together a review program or a review site, get people to review, called Doom Rocket. And he said, would you be interested in, because I had never done any critiques of comic books. I just loved them. I liked them. I wrote about them, but I never had done any. And so Jared Jones and Molly Jane Kramer from Doom Rocket took me under their wing and helped me take my jumble of comic book thoughts and refine them into reviews. And so for a couple of years, I worked with them. Then Doom Rocket went on a hiatus, and I had a little time off, and Brian Morris decided that he wanted to do part of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network as a comic review show, and asked me to take part. He knew that I worked at Doom Rocket, and so he offered me a slot, and I was not real sure because Doom Rocket, you would write text. It was just all text. They do a podcast, but I was never on that. That was always just the editors doing a two-person podcast. If you want to look up on Spotify or Apple, the Doom Rocket podcast, it's weekly Casual Wednesdays is what it's called. It's very good. It's very informative. I still listen religiously every week to see what Molly Jane and Jared have going on. But so it was going to be different. It was like, it's going to be on camera. I'm like, podcast? No, we're going to have to see you and everything. I'm like, oh. But they have, my teammates on there. You got Brian Rodman, you got Eric Hawkins, you got Brian K. Morris. They are so easy to work with. They just kind of, again, took me under the wing and helped me where I can relate. I'm still probably the quiet one. They have bigger personalities than I do, but.
Oh boy. Hey, Brian K. Morris has been a guest on And I Quote previously. If you haven't seen that, feel free to check out our YouTube channel and watch that interview, because that interview was scheduled to be 45 minutes to an hour. Yes, we went much longer than that, because Brian K. Morris, as you may or may not know, likes to tell stories.
I heard that about him,
Yeah, he's got this personality about him that says, I have a story for you. Would you like to hear it? And unfortunately, every time I want to say no, I end up saying yes, because he's a wealth of knowledge. Is it fair to say?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. He has been a big part of we met him at local conventions, not the big ones, small ones. Mm-hmm. And that was another part that got me wanting to write. I went back and started a novel after listening to him talk about writing, just because he inspired me that much. And I'm not the only one. There are myriad stories of people that he has that have attended a conference that he's done, or he came and talked at our library when we had a writer's workshop day.
Amazing.
And but he's a nurturing talent, and he takes people that have some talent or desire, and he helps them realize their dreams. Rising Tide. It just doesn't get any better, I don't think, than that.
Well, that is truly amazing. Now, Comic Book Spectrum is a weekly show. It's on Thursday nights, I believe, at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Tide Publications Facebook page, as well as the YouTube channel. So if you're into comics, you're into that sort of stuff, which you should be, because comic books are #awesometacular. Definitely check that out. Well, thanks for sharing that story with us, Clyde. That's great stuff. So you got the 4 horsemen of Comic Book Spectrum, and it seems the crew and the show just continues to grow in terms of its audience, in terms of its followers, and also the merchandising just doesn't seem to want to quit, because Clyde and I are wearing a shirt that only
do you mean? I don't understand.
I know. Like, we're only wearing a shirt that came out a few months ago, and now there's already a new shirt that's up on the site. So there you go. True. Exactly. I know. What could we possibly be mentioning here? Just saying. It's called Marketing 101. It works. #always promote, and #always promote your friends, because as we've said this time and again, but it's true what they say, that a rising tide does indeed raise all ships.
Yes. Yeah. And that sounds nice.
Yeah.
And if you get into publishing, you run into people that don't have any kind of leaning toward that. And I gotta say, as long as I've known Brian, and as long as I've watched the rising tide lift, it is absolutely as advertised. It doesn't cost you anything. It's not a deal that you have to subscribe to, like a lot of people do, and there's no charge to it. But I've watched time and again friends that I've met at conventions and other writers that have, had a limited amount of success rise up along with that tide. So it puts its money where its mouth is. So.
It surely does. And actually segue into our next question. Any special memories for you from being at conventions or other events, whether you're promoting your books, your stories, or just going to these events as an attendee?
Well, I didn't get published until the pandemic hit, so I haven't been to very many to promote that or to talk about writing. I've done a few online like this, a few online things about writing, but I got body checked by Lou Ferrigno at the St. Louis con one year. I was in his way. He was late for a panel. And, I was like, oh, you just got body checked by Lou Ferrigno? I'm like, well, I knew he was a big guy, but and he ran into me and then he was like, I'm sorry. And took off. And it was so fast. I didn't realize at the time. And then I'm like, that was him. That was Lou Ferrigno. That's pretty cool. So, okay. So I got that going for me. I survived a body hit, a full on body hit from Lou Ferrigno.
Could have body slammed you or said Hulk smash.
One of the things that has been fun with conventions, my wife and I have always loved Halloween, and we were doing cosplay and going to conventions and dressing up when it was just called it's the Masquerade Ball. It's the Saturday Night Masquerade Ball. Cosplay had not come into the vernacular yet. And, but you work and you can't always get off for weekends, and sometimes you travel, had to go to conventions away that had the guests that you wanted. So we didn't do it often. But then when I retired, and we're quite middle-aged folks, and we're like, maybe we could play some characters that don't get cosplayed as much as others. Maybe older characters that young people, who could we be? And I was watching. There was the Batman standing there with the older Jonathan and Martha Wayne.
Oh yes.
On the Thomas and Martha Wayne on the floor, going no, and I'm like, we could be parents, but I'm like, where's Superman's parents? Because you'd see Jor-El and Laura, but you would never see Ma and Pa Kent. And I thought, we could do that. We live in a rural area. My uncles had left me all kinds of old farming clothing. I was like, we could do that. We could do the Silver Age kind of, Ma and Pa Kent. So I made a rocket that was buried into the ground. We put it on a little cart where we could take it along with us. So you got the
oh, okay, I see what you're.
You got the rocket stuck into the ground, and we're dressed up kind of like Jonathan and Martha from the 1978 Superman the Motion Picture movie.
Yes, Richard Donner film. Yeah,
kind of like that. And we went to we went first to St. Louis, but we didn't have the rocket ready yet, and that was where a fan goes, I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I don't want to offend you, but can I ask you a question? Which is always a great way to start, And I was like, yeah, go ahead. And he said, are you Amish or are you Mennonite? Because I've never seen a Mennonite that liked comic books.
Oh boy! And
then my wife turned around and she's holding baby Kal-El in the red and yellow robe.
Yep, I remember that.
And he's like, oh my God, your Ma and Pa Kent. Can I get your picture? But we looked like some rustics that had just kind of walked in,
Right.
Then we got the rocket, and the next little convention we went to, a guy playing Superboy and another cosplayer playing Superman were like, oh, do you ever go to Metropolis? And I'm like, ooh, target rich environment. Because down there, every super person wants a picture with Ma and Pa Kent.
Oh, yes.
So that, being Ma and Pa Kent, to a whole generation of younger cosplayers has been, and then the next year, Adam West passed away. So we prepared a cosplay in his honor of Alfred and Aunt Harriet from the TV show.
Aunt Harriet. Don't believe I remember that character, but Alfred, obviously. But
right. And
this is what happens when you're a young buck.
Look her up. She was a recurring character on the Batman TV show, and so I don't favor Alfred. Most of the versions of Alfred I don't favor too much, but without whitening my hair and a little very precise mustache, I think I pulled it off well enough. But we again had our little trolley that we would take around, and it had the Shakespeare head to turn the.
Oh yes, that part panel. I do remember. Did you have the bat phone with you?
I did, yes, and it lit up. A red bat phone that lit up.
It lit up. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Yes, Batman Telegram. Yeah, I mean, that's another scene from another part of the series, but still, I digress.
but we got into with the Gotham crowd, and made more friends, and so those we have played a lot of characters now. We've done Harry Potter characters. We have done
really?
Wildcat and the original Red Tornado from the Justice Society of America.
Whoa.
Yeah, very obscure characters.
Wow. That is some good stuff, though, because we are seeing some of those characters start to appear on CW's Stargirl.
Yes, we are. Yes. In fact,
congratulations to the cast and crew. Season 2 just started on the CW, so congrats to them. Yes. Look forward to binge watching that once all the episodes drop, because unlike some people, I prefer to just binge watch it all at once rather than watching it week by week by week by week by week. Disney Plus, we're looking at you. But still. Whatever. But no, that's great. So you're saying Wizarding World characters, DC characters, any characters within the Marvel universe? You giving any love to those people over there who are like dominating the box office for the last 15 years?
I started off because I saw some Star-Lord when the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out. I really liked it. Was one of our favorite Marvel movies, and I saw some people over at St. Louis doing Star-Lord, so I decided to do they were doing the short coat version from the first movie. So I want to do the long coat version when he first arrives.
Oh yes, I remember that.
And so I did that. But I'm a little long in the tooth to look very, as long as I'm wearing the mask, I'm okay. But I'm a little long in the tooth to play Star-Lord. So then when Doctor Strange came along, I thought, this is my shot. I can look at least yes, I can at least look like the character from the comic books if I don't look like Cumberbatch too much. But my daughter and my wife helped me make a very screen accurate from the first Doctor Strange movie costume. Ooh. And he's my favorite Marvel character to cosplay now. So I've done Cyclops for some people that needed a Cyclops. But again, I'm an older guy for that. So I really like, I really like playing Doctor Strange. And he's one of my favorite Marvel characters anyway. So it just it works out. We did that for Free Comic Book Day. The only time I've got to cosplay for the last couple of years, we did Free Comic Book Day, and there was a wonderful Thor there. So we did a thing with a refilling ale glass, and we did this whole little photo shoot thing that was just a lot of fun. So yeah, I enjoy. That's my Marvel character. Yeah.
Wow, those some great memories and stuff like that. So I'm assuming once Earth kind of starts to reopen again and more conventions and other events start to get back on their feet, I take it you're going to pay Metropolis, Illinois for Superman Celebration a visit. So at some point in the future, and then you're also going to be doing some more appearances as Doctor Strange and other characters once the movie starts. Because I'm assuming you're going to be there front row center for the new film Doctor Strange Part 2 in the Multiverse of Madness.
I've never dressed up to go to the theater because they began to, when we started to get into cosplay and actually have something that would be good to wear, they were starting to kind of, locally at least, they were kind of frowning on that after some incidents at movie theaters with.
Oh, okay.
After one of the Batman premieres, they started to be much more careful about that.
Right.
So I know other places are more open about it, but here it was, it seemed like they weren't really very encouraging for it. But that didn't stop me from going to see like Guardians of the Galaxy 7 times in person, sitting in the front row. So we'll be going to the theaters, yes, but right now we're just glad to be able to stream a lot of things. So.
Oh yes. I mean, I'm sure we can all agree that during the unfortunate circumstances with the pandemic, streaming services have exploded, and subscribers have continued to grow, and more people are streaming certain movies or TV series from the comfort of their own home. And listen, if you want to be safe, I respect that 100%. So. Do what makes you feel comfortable. Do what you feel is right. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. But cosplaying is fun. I actually just started doing cosplaying myself a few years ago. I cosplay as Dr. Henry Jones Jr., not senior because I'm not that old yet. But I have gone as Indiana Jones, and I've also cosplayed as Clark Kent from the TV series known as Smallville, which starred Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum, and company. Hopefully, I get to pay Metropolis, Illinois a visit once Earth fully reopens. And I feel very comfortable with traveling outside of my own home state. No offense to everyone else out there, but we need to be safe about this sort of thing. So Superman Celebration is very high on my list because Superman's my favorite character.
Oh, there you go.
I kind of owe it to the people of Metropolis to pay them a visit. And to spend time with Brian K. Morris and all his friends and all his neighbors, because it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day for a neighbor. And I'm sure Brian K. Morris would love to give me a tour. So we'll have to let Brian K. Morris as well as Brian Robb. There's too many Brians in this world. Too many Brians don't make it right. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. No, I'm just kidding. We love you guys. But if we ever get together again as one big happy family, I hope to see you guys in Metropolis, Illinois. So please mark that down on our to-do list. Hopefully we can accomplish that somewhat within the next few years, because I really want to go.
Well, I would really like to see you there, and you will have a blast. You will have a blast.
So.
But remember, it is Southern Illinois.
Yes.
It is the second. Normally, it is the second weekend in June. You would think, oh, it's June. That means it's probably balmy and nice. Well, right on the river, and the humidity is about 389% there.
Jeez.
So if you come as a character like Batman or somebody attired in a dark outfit, you're going to need to have one of those circulating backpacks with
camelbacks.
Yes, you need to do something to, and you need to hydrate a lot because it's
water
always
bottles.
hot. Yeah, always hot.
I've heard the weather is quite hot, like hotter than an episode of CSI Miami with Horatio Kane, one of my good friends, by the way. Just saying. Good stuff. Great memories. Hopefully, once conventions start to open up, you'll get to promote your writings as well as, whatever other writers you have coming down the pipe. Now, speaking of writing, what advice would you give to aspiring writers out there? Okay. For one thing, if you are sitting here watching a show like this about writing, and you're wondering, I wonder, if I should. I've written fan fiction, or I write games, or I'm a game master, and I've always thought about writing. I wonder if I should. Do it. Just pursue it. It may not go anywhere, but try, because and if you're older, who cares? I got published when I was 58. I've written fan fiction most of my adult life. Wow. So, it's never too late to try. And also, if you are in that category of somebody that wants to write, do check out the Rising Tide. If you want to network with people that are not out to bamboozle your talent or copy your ideas, or somebody that is not going to prey upon you but will actually help you, I think Rising Tide is an excellent resource for getting to know other writers of all different levels of experience, age, and I am probably one of the lesser writers as far as volume. I do short stories for Pulp Reality, and I've written some other short stories and some radio dramas, but I don't have books out or anything yet, like a lot of my friends do. But I know where to go for information when I do have a book, because I know them. So, I would strongly suggest watch as many shows on YouTube for free as you can about writing. Pick what you like, what you don't. Get a copy of On Writing by Stephen King. I think it's one of the best books about writing for writers. It does not pull punches, but it is funny and engaging and very insightful. But those would be my short list of suggestions for anybody that thinks maybe kind of sort of they might sort of like to be a writer. Well put. We're talking with Clyde Hall, writer, cosplayer, and co-host of Comic Book Spectrum. Make sure you are sharing this video with 200 of your closest friends, family, and coworkers, because they're gonna like the way they look after watching, and I quote, I guarantee it. So make sure you share. So I'm just curious here, Clyde, you've mentioned a few events you've been to, few characters that you've cosplayed in the past, and things you've been doing as of late. I'm just curious, if you had to name just one, well, let's put it this way: one actor or actress you hope to meet somewhere down the line, and then one writer or artist you hope to meet down the line. What do you think?
Okay. Man, that's a tough one, because I met Lou Ferrigno, so
even though it was very quick, he was like, "I'm trying to get to a panel. Hulk smash, get out of my way."
Yeah.
That's terrible.
And I met Elvira. I haven't done a lot of celebrity meet. I got to watch a panel discussion with Adam West and Burt Ward. That was very good. And I didn't meet them. I just got to hear them fielding questions. And Elvira, that was cool, because I had a game supplement that was like one of my favorite games to run. That was had her picture. It was based on. It had her as a spokesperson for it, so she signed it for me. But of the people that I have not met, we talked about him earlier. Brendan Ralph would be somebody I would be interested in just getting to say I met him. I really like Brandon. I really, he just seems like, both in his portrayals of characters and his interviews and things, just seems like a really good guy. So that would be one of the top of my comic book centric people to meet. And the other for a comic book artist or writer, I have met mine, actually, because as a kid, I could, pretty early on, I could figure out Kurt Schaffenberger's work. I could figure out Marie Severin's work or John Severin's work. I started keeping track of artists, more than writers, artists at that time. And man, if you put a Neil Adams cover on a book, you would part me with my lunch money faster than anything, And then I didn't matter. I would get it, look inside, and then be disappointed that he wasn't doing interior art. I didn't care. If he was doing the cover, it would be something that I would get. And I got to meet him over at St. Louis, and his rendition of Wildcat in Brave and the Bold back in the 60s is what made me really one of the things made me a Wildcat fan. So I was looking over his prints, hoping that he might have one. He didn't have one for sale. And he said, "Who are you looking for?" And I told him, and we chatted. There was nobody around his table, so we just got to just chat for a while. And he said, "Well, what character are you looking for?" I'm like, "Wildcat." And he goes, "Oh, I do Wildcat better than anybody." I'm like, "I know. That's why I was looking, but I don't see him here." He goes, "No, I don't think I have one." So my wife and daughter, though, they kept track of this, so they hired him to do a Wildcat. And it is up here. It's a little off screen, but I will tilt it up, and you can see that is my
there it is,
original Neil Adams artwork of Wildcat. So
very nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But that was the high point, I think, of a creative person. Also, I know the work that he did on behalf of getting Bill Finger recognized for his contribution to Batman.
Sure, yeah.
And his representation of Jack Kirby as a major talent that was underappreciated. Those sorts of things that he did that he didn't have to do, but he used the power that he got as an illustrator, an award-winning illustrator in comics, to promote people that maybe had been overlooked or were underappreciated. That speaks a lot to me about his person, not just his talent, his personality. So Neil Adams, you're okay in my book. And you are one of the people that I hope to be like when I grow up. So
no, nothing wrong with that. Great picks. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil that did Green Lantern and Green Arrow's Hard Traveling Heroes story?
Hard Traveling
Heroes. 70s?
Absolutely.
I actually have the deluxe edition hardcover of that, and I just read that not too long ago. Darn good story for its time. Really good story.
Imagine reading that when you're an 8-year-old kid living in a very small town in Southern Illinois and having a person go, "I read where you done considerable for the Redskins and the Blueskins." That scene, that is one of those galvanizing. I mean, that's when I think that moment right there is when I realized that comic books could be a lot of fun, and comic books could tell truths besides just a fictional story. So yeah.
That's very true. Yep. Have the deluxe edition hardcover. So good stuff to have in one's collection if you are a comic book fan of any age, any generation, of any writer, any artist in general. I'm just pointing that out there. So outside of the names you have already mentioned, what would you say are some of your favorite artists and writers of today?
Okay. Mark Russell. Good stuff from Mark Russell. Alex Packnadel. I'm talking writers right now. Sure. Alex Packnadel, if you haven't read it, I think it was very underrated. If you have not checked him out, he's got several things. He's done some Marvel work now, and I've read some of it, but not too much. But he did a near future, like it's so close to near future, it feels like it's 15 minutes in the future, called Friendo. One word, Friendo.
Okay.
Look it up. It's all about marketing, not like a business, but dystopian marketing and the level that it goes to. And I got to talking to him online a little bit, and I reviewed one of his books, and he wasn't getting a lot of airplay, and he appreciated it. So I started talking to him, and I said, "How did you do this? You know what is in the minds of marketing people." And I don't mean like in a good way, executives, because it's a horror story. And he's like, I worked in marketing for like 5 years or 6 years. Like, oh, well, that would explain it. But he's taken that experience and he turned it into that. And everything I've read from him is quite good, quite good. Let me think. As far as artists, Gail Simone is another writer. Before I get off the topic, I really like Gail Simone's work. She's not necessarily, she's not a young gun or anything, but I really enjoy the work that she has done. Black Canary and Birds of Prey.
Oh yes.
Yeah, she was instrumental in shaping them into what they more what they are today. Let me think here, artists, because there are so many good artists. Well, okay. I am reviewing this week on Comic Book Spectrum. I am reviewing The Blue Flame, and there is an artist that I had not seen before, and I am very impressed with, Adam Gorham. That I like him. Is he a favorite? He could very well be. Of the one I've read recently, and this is the 4th issue. I have them all so far. I am really enjoying his take. Also, Mike Mignola, I know he's a very stylistic. It's not every story would be good with him, but for horror and Hellboy and those sorts of things, I really like him. And you just made me think of something else too. Speaking of monsters, Marvel was always my monster book. I was never a big mutant fan, but monsters, Werewolf by Night. One of the people that would be a bucket list person to meet would be Mike Ploog. Oh. You see him occasionally at conventions, but he started off in comics and then he went to doing, he did the animation work on the 1980 heavy metal movie where B-52 crew comes back as zombies. It's very horrific.
Gosh.
But his work on Werewolf by Night and some of the other, and Ghost Rider, the original Ghost Rider series. I, as a kid, again, if it was a Marvel book and it had a Ploog cover, just kind of like Neil Adams, I was there, and I'd love to meet him sometime. So there's, going back to that question, there's another answer.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing that with us. Now, a lot of things have been released. A lot of things are upcoming. I'm just curious, are you familiar at all with Why the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan, who also wrote Saga?
I have heard of it. I am not familiar with it. No.
Okay, because the new series is about to drop. Yes. I believe it's FX on Hulu on September 13th, and a lot of comic book readers, a lot of comic book fans are jacked up and excited.
I have read about
Why the Last Man to finally make its adaptation debut on FX on Hulu. So looking forward to that. I just read volume 1 of, I think there's 5, maybe 6 trade paperbacks. I'm not 100% sure, but even though I read the first volume, that's a heck of a story. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to be adapted to the small screen on FX on Hulu. So just thought I would put it out there and say, hey, this one's upcoming. Are you curious to watch it at all?
Ryan, tell me now. I haven't read the series, and I haven't, of course, this hasn't launched yet.
Not yet. Must
I read it and then watch it, or could I watch it and then read it?
Ooh. See, that's $1 million question, because that's a question that I sometimes ask myself. Should I read this material before the adaptation comes out, or should I watch the adaptation of it first and then go back and read the original source material? I think it depends on the person. It depends on how you feel about it. I mean, for me to read volume 1 going into the series, knowing some of the stuff that is going to happen, it's going to be bonkers crazy when it does happen on screen. I'm thinking to myself, are they really going to take it that far? Because this is no joke. Just to give you a quick synopsis of the story without going into major or minor spoilers, I'm going to give this the best synopsis that I can. Think of it as a elevator pitch.
Okay.
So the story of Why the Last Man is it's a dystopian setting. So basically all the men on Earth suddenly just die. all the women are alive, but all the men except one man and a male chimpanzee are alive after this sudden event occurs. And it's up to this young man, whose name is Yorick, to figure out why he is the last man standing. And the women, like, there's a group of women coming after him. There's a group of women in the government who want to find out how he survived this apocalypse and what they can do to potentially bring back the male part of the human race. So, and it's insane. It's a sci-fi dystopian future adventure, horror, thriller, but it's got a mixture of everything. So I would say check it out when it comes out on FX on Hulu. But if you do want to read the source material, I do recommend reading it maybe ahead of time. But then again, if you don't want to, that's up to you. I'm just going to leave that up to you. It's a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Well, I lean toward reading it first, so I will. That's
fine.
Probably do. I mean, because of what you said, I would probably enjoy.
A lot of things happened in Volume 1, and I'm thinking Season 1 is just going to be Volume 1. I don't know if they're going to be able to get through all of it in one sitting. I don't know. It's not like I have an inside track on what the producers are exactly going to be doing with this adaptation, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing the results. So we'll find out more as we go on, but I just thought I would ask you that question if you were familiar with it, because it is coming up. It's very soon. The fall season is going to kick into some high gears. So there you go. There's your elevator pitch known as Why the Last Man. If you want more information or if you want to buy copies of it, I'm sure you can find it on other apps, Audible, Amazon, your local comic stores, #support local comic shops. So please feel free to consult your local comic shop and see if they got the trade paperbacks, because that's where I got mine. Just saying. So with that, Clyde, and hopefully that was a good enough elevator pitch for you as well as you who are watching this to check out Why the Last Man, because I think it's fascinating. As a wise man once said, fascinating. So the next series of questions are powered by Pod Decks. Pod Decks are a set of cards for broadcasters or podcasters looking to gamify their podcast. Simply go to poddex.com, buy yourself a set of cards, type in the promo code NERDCULTURE to get 10% off your order. So to kick things off with this segment, powered by Pod Decks here for you, Clyde, if there was a sandwich that was named after you, what would be on this sandwich?
Okay, my sandwich would have to have kielbasa sausage, cheddar cheese melted on top.
There you go.
Think here. Maybe just a dash of dark mustard and a few leaves of lettuce. No, that'd be good.
Would you recommend this to your fellow horsemen on Comic Book Spectrum to try out?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we got subs. It'll be okay. We have substitute members of the cast. If one of them falls ill, they'll be okay.
There you go. There's always a plan B.
Exactly.
So we'll just go with that. Excuse me. That's what I'm trying to say. Gee whiz. Why am I my words today? What would you say? What was your first screen name when you dived into the internet?
Oh my. I think, and I still have the email account. Captain Action at hotmail.com was one of them. Was, I think, about the first one. Maybe and I had a Wildcat one. Like Wildcat 1942 at hotmail.com. So, yep.
1942. That was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Gee whiz. I don't know the history of every single comic character that's ever been written, because there's a lot of them. 1942. Wow. That's like right after or right in the same vicinity as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
Yeah. Well, Wildcat, they shared, I think, first
around the
appearance
same
was
era.
He was a backup feature in a book that became hers. I'm pretty sure. I have to look to be certain, but Sensation Comics.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it started with her too. So they have been part of the same feature title originally. So yeah.
Interesting. You know your history. Very good. So going on.
I know my treasure. Anyway.
Yes, you do quite well, I might add, good sir. So on the flip side of things, what's your recurring nightmare?
Well, I don't remember a lot of my dreams. As a child and a younger person, I dreamt very, very vividly. I don't remember too many of them now, but during the pandemic, I did have some panic dreams of being in with a group of people, very tightly packed, without any kind of face guard or anything, trying to find my mask. And I'm sure other people have had that too. That's a fairly recent thing. I'm diabetic, so if my blood sugar should drop during sleep, that's some interesting dreams. And sometimes they're not dreams. You're up walking around going, I must get something to eat. But woo, shiny. Look, there's a giant platypus over there looking at me. I mean, it can get very surreal. Almost To Live and Die in LA surreal, or Johnny Depp surreal. So but the pandemic dream, that's been the most recent. Before that, the things that I would dream would be, and my daughter, she's grown, she's a little older than you are now, and but she's a child again, and there's something bad about to happen to her, and one of those slow motion dreams where you can see it unfolding, but you can't get there in time. Things are going at a normal pace there, and you're in slow motion. So those are sweat drenched dreams.
Right. Just be glad you don't have a recurring nightmare that occurs around the same time every year during Halloween, especially if you live in a place called Elm Street.
Yes, there you go.
It's not a good. Things don't really end well for those who have nightmares.
Yes.
Elm Street.
Yes.
I should know. I've seen the first 4 films. Not all of them yet, but I'm halfway home. 4 of 8 have been complete. I know Freddy vs. Jason doesn't really count, but it's in the set that I bought, so I'm going to watch all 8 of them.
The Dream Warriors?
Like I said, I've seen the first 4. So I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, which is Freddy's Revenge. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, very good one. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. That was a good one too.
Now, what did you learn from? There's one thing there's a takeaway if you're a gamer from Dream Warriors.
I saw the movie a while ago, so feel free to remind me as well as remind you at home. What is this thing that you should be learning? The kernel of wisdom that you should take from Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, is wizards don't close. Right. Right. We're whooping up on Freddy pretty good with magic powers until we decide we'll go hand to hand with him. Sorry, Presto, not a good call there. Yeah, that's true. I will say this though. One of the other takeaways I got from Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is the theme song. By Draken. Yeah. We're Dream Warriors. I'm just saying. Good theme song for the time, good for the 80s. And let me tell you something. If there's one thing we've learned about the 1980s, is that they had great soundtracks for almost every movie that was ever released. So take it as you will. Well, that song will probably find a spot, or it should, in the next Stranger Things season, maybe. Oh, yes, that's a good point. It does play to the 80s, so it is meant for it's set during the time period of the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. If we can do Never-Ending Story as a theme and a recurring music bit for that, it's so beautiful. I love that. When they started that, I just, the nostalgia. Like maybe you at home, I grew up watching the Never-Ending Story as a kid, so it's one of my favorite movies. Even to this day, I still think it's one of the best fantasy films ever made. It has practical effects. That's still, for the most part, I think they still work. They hold up in the theme song. Say what you will, how cheesy it is, but when Lamal gets dialed in, Lamal is dialed in. Okay. Right. And then when you're looking through that telescope at the Southern Oracle or the gateway to see the Southern Oracle, and you see the ice, and then you see the ice crystals of the Southern Oracle. Sorry if I'm giving away spoilers for a movie that's almost 40 years old. Sorry. It's good visual effects. Oh, yeah. It's Wolfgang Peterson. It's Wolfgang Peterson, the guy who gave you movies like The Perfect Storm, the remake of Poseidon. And I will say, I'm one of the few people who like this. I like the remake of Poseidon. I really do. I saw that in the theater and my mind was blown because of how good those visual effects were. And that movie was so good. It was actually nominated for best visual effects of that year. 2006. Fun fact. And speaking of Brandon Routh, that's when his movie Superman Returns was released in the year 2006. So fun facts for you watching at home. Just pointing that out there. So Clyde, from our good friends here, powered by Poddex, if you could undo one moment in your life, what would it be?
Oh. Well, that's a pretty personal question, but I will tell you, a couple of years ago, 3 days before Christmas, my granddaughter, she had seen Frozen 2.
Oh, yes.
And they had a pond by their house, and she went out because it had a little bit of ice on it, and she thought, we think that she believed, she could do an Elsa sort of thing, and she fell in, and she drowned, and she survived, but she has a brain injury that is very debilitating right now.
Oh.
So, had I the ability, every time it comes up now, used to when they go, where would you go if you could travel in time? What would you, or if you could redo a moment, what would it be in the past? It was always something fanciful, but ever since then, when somebody asks, the straight up answer is, I would go back to that date, and I would change that.
Well, sorry, didn't mean to bring up necessarily bad memories for you, but my heart goes out to you and your family members who went through that unfortunate situation. I'm very sorry. Sorry to hear about that, but
honestly, that would be, if ever time travel is developed,
sure,
you can talk about, oh no, we shouldn't go back and change history. One little girl, one incident. Yeah, I'd risk it. I'd do it. So there you are. Sorry, Doctor Who. I know you probably wouldn't like that, but you're in the UK, so I'm here. I can do this.
No. It's completely fine. Heart goes out to you. Thanks for sharing that with us. Do appreciate it. I know, like I said, didn't want to necessarily bring up some bad memories, but. So to change things up here, once again, those questions are brought to you by Poddex, and every episode of And I Quote is powered by Poddex. Go to poddex.com if you want to gamify your podcast. Simply shuffle up the cards and let the content roll. Type in the promo code NerdCulture to get 10% off your order. So definitely check that out when you do have an opportunity. So Clyde, you've mentioned a couple of them in the past, but I'm just curious, are there any other fictional characters that you would say are some of your favorites?
Oh, yeah. Captain Action was an action figure. It was one of the first merchandised, or maybe the first merchandised action figure or toy that was put into a comic book. And I have collected Captain Actions. The first Spider-Man action figure was a Captain Action. Basically, you had a basic figure, and you could buy the costume sets and put masks on. He could be 9-in-1 action heroes. He could be Steve Canyon. He could be Spider-Man. He could be Superman, Batman, the Lone Ranger, Tonto, Sergeant Fury, Captain America. And as a young comic book fan and a guy that played with G.I. Joes all the time, a 12-inch figure that can be all your superheroes. Oh, yeah. Well, then Jim Shooter was tasked with making a comic book version of just the figure, not all of the other things, not the Superman part, just the action figure in his distinctive uniform. And he ended up being one of my favorite characters. He's kind of like Captain Marvel on steroids, or the original Captain Marvel on steroids, because he can become, with these magic coins, he can take the powers of any god or goddess from pantheons of the past. So you get some really wonky powers that way. But I thought the creativity of that was, even as a kid, I thought it was good. And he had a cool outfit. So the tie with the toy and everything made him a favorite character. Although DC just announced that they're going to put out the 5 issues of his comic book in a trade paperback. They haven't done that in a long time because Ideal still owned the toy license for him, so they didn't want to get in trouble. but now apparently, and Ideal's been out of business for a long time, so apparently they got the go ahead to do it. So they're going to be releasing it. It's very 60s. It's very Gil Kane did the Wallace Wood though artwork on the first 2 issues, and then you had Gil Kane writing and doing the last 3 issues, and it's worth a look, I think, just for the art. Yes, it's a 60s title, and yes, it'll have some things that'll make you snicker about it, but it's also, again, very creative, especially the first part where you can take all these different powers from different deities. It sent me to the library looking up mythological characters. I wanted to learn more because I wanted to know what other powers Captain Action could have. Then you got Wildcat. He is one of my favorite DC characters. And originally Buona Beast, but then they changed him to Freedom Beast, and I like that much better. But it's a person that he has super strength, but he also has a helmet where he can control. If you've ever watched the Batman Brave and the Bold, they had Buona Beast as a recurring character on that. He takes two different animals and he fuses them together, and he can control them. And he would take like a wasp and a horse and make a big flying insect horse.
Gee willikers, that's like Vixen's powers on steroids. Because I remember the character Vixen can harness the power of a certain animal or a beast, and she can display those abilities. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Brave and the Bold, they were a couple.
Oh, I bring up Vixen, and the love connection starts to form.
There you go. But they changed it. It was a white jungle hero, and they changed it to where right after apartheid was outlawed and everything, they made Freedom Beast, who was a native of the land where the helmet came from, and he has the same powers and uses them very creatively. The others were, I think it's Mike Maxwell was the original. He would do some cool things, but I always thought you could do this on like a cellular level. Animal life, you could do you could make terrible viruses, or you could cure them, perhaps. So the potential was there to do a lot more than they ever did with the character. He was just, even on Brave and the Bold, Batman, when they're like, why are you not wanting to bring Buona Beast in to help us? And he's like, I can't help it. His powers freak me out. If you have a power that freaks out Batman, you're doing something, kind of cool. So that was another character that I was very fond of. Ghost Rider and Werewolf by Night.
I like the title of that, Werewolf by Night. I think I may or may not have heard that name come across my desk once or so in the past, but whatever it is, the title alone has got me. You had my curiosity. But now check it out. Go back and find the. I probably should
go back and find the original Marvel run, and then he was part of the Midnight Suns later in the '90s, and
Midnight Suns. Okay.
Yeah. So, and he's going to be part of at least one version of Werewolf by Night will be part of the Moon Knight TV series.
Ooh, yeah, that's one of the names that's been floating around the desk of Marvel Studios for years and years and years. People, a lot of comic fans, I can see this online once in a blue moon, they have been clamoring, they have been dying to see the character of Moon Knight finally adapted, because I've heard so many there's different iterations of his character, there's different versions of the character, and there's also people are saying, well, he's got this personality disorder, and once he loses his head, it's just everything goes crazy around, and I'm thinking, oh, so basically, what if a superhuman being lost his marbles? I'm curious to see how that would go, especially when you got this Moon, you got the hood and you got the slick outfit. I'm thinking, reminds me of certain characters. But then again, everyone who's paid homage or has been, semi-adapted from another character, everyone's copied off of, maybe not copied, but they've, used certain elements of other characters.
Analogs,
thank you.
Sure.
So if Moon Knight comes to fruition, I'll be there front row center, because I've been very curious to see how this character is going to be adapted, whether as a movie or a TV series.
He's one of those characters that they introduced because he used silver, so he was a bad guy he was a hero because werewolves are normally not good. So he was an opponent to Werewolf by Night, but then they kind of spun him off and they tried to kind of make him into a Batman, creature of the night, light, Batman light. And then they did some series where they, like you said, the multiple personalities and the multiple IDs. And they started a new series I just started getting from Marvel with him that first couple issues have been really good. So,
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. I'm gonna have to go back and read some of these materials and some of these characters as well. So we know some of these are already being adapted or in the process of being adapted, but you're given a green light to let's say, all right, here it is, Clyde. You have the ability to adapt a character who has not yet been adapted into a movie or TV series, but you can only pick one. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Captain Action?
Probably not, because he's very much of a different era. You could upgrade him. I have seen they have done some attempts at upgrading him. Other companies, not DC, but I don't know that you could make him, unless you did a nostalgia piece. It would not be terribly compelling, probably, or not very much like the original source material. However, when they were doing the Wonder Comics imprint with Brian Michael Bendis over at DC, they did a take on Dial H for Hero. Have you ever heard of the H dial?
Dial H for maybe once it came across my attention, but I can't remember it exactly.
Originally a mystic dial, and you dial HERO, and you become a random superhero.
Oh well, that's
not an existing one, a completely new and different random superhero.
Well, I respect the originality, so I would sign up for it. So yeah, that sounds good.
So Brian Michael Bendis did the Wonder Comics imprint for younger readers, and they did a very nice upgrade of those, and eventually there was a girl and a young man that could use the dial. So they have a male and female character, and between that and if I could guest star the Wonder Twins in it from the same Wonder Comics imprint. I believe that was Mark Russell again, writing, earning his paycheck doubly well, because that was a smart take on characters that had been belittled. His Wonder Twins run was excellent. So kind of a fusion, Dial H for Hero comic with them as a guest star or backup or supporting characters. That would be my pick. You make me a happy man.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's a valid choice, valid pick. Who knows? Maybe that'll come to fruition in the next few years. I'm just curious. A quick sidebar. What did you think of the Wonder Twins' appearance on Smallville a couple years back? Man, I can't believe that show's been over for decades. Never mind, it was a long time ago, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So, what did you think of the Wonder Twins' appearance on Smallville when they're like, powers activate? I did like the cast. I like the cast because Allison Scagliotti was on Warehouse 13, and she was a very clever character and a clever actress in her own right. And I believe it was David Gallagher, I want to say, from Seventh Heaven, who played the brother.
I think you're right.
And then they had the monkey was a cell phone. It wasn't an actual monkey. It was a cell phone because the DC executives thought, well, if we put a monkey in the Smallville show, then we've really jumped the shark. Maybe. I don't know. But what did you think of their appearance?
I thought in the seasons where they were doing that, they did the Justice Society.
Oh, JSA. That was a great two-parter with Icicle.
Yes. Yeah.
And Dr. Fate was there too.
Dr. Fate, really good looking Dr. Fate. And then
a really good looking suit.
The Stargirl from that. Stargirl showed up.
Was an iteration of her on that before she was readapted into her own series with a different actress, different era, but still, it was still Stargirl, which was cool to see because I knew nothing about these characters until they showed up on Smallville. So it's a good introduction to those of us who are new DC fans.
Absolutely, Legion of Superheroes got a nod, and then you got the Wonder Twins. I think all of those. I was excited to see them. I don't know any of them that they dropped the ball completely. I was happy with. I know that they had limitations. Like you said, there's not going to be,
a monkey.
A gleep. Yeah, they're not going to do that. Okay. But I knew that they had limitations, but I really appreciated the work that they did to make a TV version that would work within the frame of the show. And, like I said, here you are going, I love these characters that I didn't know about until then. Boom. So, I give them a lot of props. I had no problems with, I can't think offhand of any of their adaptations on Smallville that I just went, no, bad, don't do that. No. I preferred that over the earlier seasons that were kind of just soap operatic.
Monster of the Week.
Or Kryptonite.
With the whole Clark and Lana storyline.
Right. And Kryptonite Radiation, Power of the Week. That's okay, but I really enjoyed seeing the other support characters. Since you couldn't uniform Clark up,
No flights.
Let's see
no
everybody
flights.
else.
Yeah, let's see everybody else that has superpowers. Why can't you fly? Well, I can't fly. Why is that? Because I'm afraid. Dude, you know what? I'll be honest with you. Just quick thing here before we move on. He flew a number of times on that show, even though the producer specifically said there are going to be no flights and no tights. Hello. He flies up into the tornado at the end of season 1. He flies in the beginning of season 4 when he's possessed by his alter ego Kal-El from Krypton, even though they're the same person. It's like, come on, guys.
He didn't fly into the tornado.
He jumped up and
it was the tornado.
He didn't fly, but he jumped.
It was the tornado suckage. No, there's some suckage going on, and it has nothing to do with Clark or the tornado. You guys.
I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Like, there were instances where that character actually did fly. They just didn't flat out admit it on screen by saying, "Oh yeah, my name's Clark Kent. I know how to fly." No, you don't, because this show is about you staying as Clark Kent, not you being Superman, because that's what the show was meant to be, an origin story.
Right. And you're absolutely right. And, I got to give props to the writing staff.
Yeah.
Because after kneecapping themselves with that, they still produced a show that lasted much longer than I thought it would, and was much better, often way above its pay grade as far as what I expected out of it. When they announced that at the beginning of, here's our limitations, and we are going to bend them as much as we can and break them when you're not looking. But
we were there. We saw. We knew. I have all 10 seasons on DVD, I might add, and I'm just going to point this out. There were a number of instances where this guy flew before he ever put on the tights. Okay. Yeah. But hey, listen, we're all friends. We're all fans here. We digress. We can have these friendly neighborhood discussions. It's okay. So we want to take this opportunity to thank Clyde Hall for being our first guest on the season premiere of And I Quote. So Clyde, let me put it to you like this. Any upcoming projects you can tell us about, and where can everyone find you on social media?
Okay. Well, Ryan, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And thanks for starting your season with me. That, when I saw it was the premiere episode, I'm like, well, dang, now I got to be good and stuff. So people keep
no pressure, right?
No pressure. But you can find me by going to www.stormgatepress.com, or you can find these on Amazon as well. And you can find Pulp Reality series if you want to read some of my work. It's an anthology of pulp characters, modern pulp, and I have a character called B-Man that I created for Stormgate Press. So real one for the B-Man is in Pulp Reality, award-winning Pulp Reality #1, and Pulp Reality #2, also available, has the second B-Man story, a little bit thicker, a few more stories. So you can find those on Amazon or at Stormgate Press. You can also find me on Comic Book Spectrum every Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We are on Facebook, and we are also we're over on YouTube. Tune in either way. We'd love to have you check us out. We do basically, it's a rundown of comic books that are available currently at stores. We usually try to make them within the last month. Often it's just that week. We get the comic book on Wednesday and we're reviewing it on Thursday because we can't wait. So if you want to have some reviews of all sorts of comics, from Kickstarter projects to Marvel and DC, or Ahoy, or Image, Vault, Aftershock, check us out. We'll give you some options. And we're all different enough in different ages where, we normally do a pretty good shotgunning of all sorts of interests and genres. So check us out on Comic Book Spectrum. You'll be glad you did. It's part of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. And if you're an aspiring writer, go to Facebook, look up Rising Tide Broadcast Network, and think about joining that there. Also, if you're on Facebook, look me up, Clyde Hall. You can also find me. I have an author's page that is Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall, and I put up a daily post of something positive. We try to put up a daily positive feed. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 positive things, because you can't limit it to just one in these days. You need all the positivity you can get, I think. So you can find me there also.
Well, that is just fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us, Clyde. My name is Ryan of Neuroculture. You can follow us on all forms of social media, simply at It's Nerd Culture. Check out our YouTube channel. We post new videos each and every week, whether we're having interviews, Battle of the Nerds, trivia games. We talk about movies, TV series, anime, video games from our Twitch streams. We try to cater to your nerdy heart's desire as best we can. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this video with all your friends and family. Trust me, they'll be glad that you did. That is going to do it for this episode of And I Quote. Once again, thank you for joining us and supporting us. We really, really appreciate it. Look forward. We got so many great guests coming your way on this brand new season of And I Quote. These episodes are going to drop Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So be sure to write it down on your calendar, put it in your phone, however you want to go about it. I will leave that up to you. But in the meantime, to you, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, and most importantly, read comics. Take care, everybody.
I'm GW Pomacher.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
Abba.
It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
Web TV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon.
So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million, and 10 million, and 100 million.
On HWWS
Web TV.
You really like it, I guarantee.